Because then the leader of that household or the head of that household has control over the right and the will of every single person in that household. You're fundamentally denying people free will. They're not allowed to. Yes, they are. Because if they're
fundamental
both
denying them free will, huh?
Because if they're both legislated by the same government, and one of them has no say in who is elected into that government, but still, because you're still
they still have
impacted
free
by
will.
law, but you're still impacted by laws.
So what? You're being impacted by laws when you're 17. They can't vote. You have a consistency issue.
Not at the same extent as an 18-year-old. Not at the same extent.
They can have it to the same extent as an 18-year-old.
In very rare exceptions, but you're
but they can then. So you're disenfranchising people.
But look at you. You're around the fringe. You're fighting on an exception. We're talking about the general population.
Even
right
in
now.
the general population.
I'm not talking about murderers. I'm not talking about serial
let's start
killers.
with this.
I'm not talking about school shooters.
I don't think it's generally speaking a good idea to let 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds to vote, to disenfranchise the votes of people who are politically informed, because they're being used as a leverage voting block for elitists. And that's what's actually happening. What's actually happening was what you just said. NGOs and lobbyists are lobbying Congress to get various things passed, and what they do is they try to leverage the votes from a tribalist purview in order to get the things that they want, right? And 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds are highly impressionable, right? So are 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds highly impressionable. And one way that you could eliminate this idea that they could be gone after by the parasitic NGOs who run things is by simply limiting the ability to vote to people who have such a political interest that they actually do social service for up to 5 years, so that then we can trust them with the right to vote.
Okay. I have two statements. Can you let me get through them?
Sure.
Okay. So here's number one. I agree that lobbying generally is bad. I'm not here for NGOs. I don't think anyone really is. I mean, and the whole point of why we don't like them is because we want to be represented by our legislators fairly and accurately, and we don't want it to be in the control of a private interest group.
So lobbying's bad?
Yes, generally, I think that lobbyists and NGOs are not
bad.
good. But what I don't understand is, if that's the issue, why not ban NGOs? Why not have a platform that's standing against NGOs and lobbyists? I think that'd be something great.
Yeah, so
if you did that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so this is a great question, but here's the problem, right? Yeah. This is the leverage of tribalism and why you can't really do that. So on social issues, right, there are NGOs out there, for instance, who have a vested interest in abortions being legal, right? This goes out into the social ethos, and now we're battling over the social issue. We have become tribal. Right? We've become tribal. Then you have NGOs who battle against it, let's say, this social issue. They also are making a ton of money off of the counter battle, let's say, also utilizing political tribalism. The whole idea here is divisive tribalism is what enables NGOs to begin with. They make a ton of money off of it, especially off of race hustling and DEI.
So then again, why not just ban NGOs and lobbyists
and
you can't allow everyone to still have a vote in a representative
I'm giving
democracy?
you the descriptor.
I think it's hilarious that you keep calling democracy tribalism.
It leads to tribalism, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
full democracy leads to tribalism.
So
There's no way around it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so does sports. Sure.
So should we ban sports?
No, why would you ban sports? That's a total non sequitur. It makes no sense.
Why would you ban a huge percentage of the population from voting?
Because I would want to avoid political tribalism so that elitists can't exploit low information voters, which they do right now, in order to enslave the planet.
So you're basically saying that people are too stupid to have the right to vote?
Yes.
That's dumb, dude.
Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, of course I think people are stupid.
Well, then what are you arguing with me about?
If I want a right to vote, then I should give them the right to vote.
Why? But listen, think about what you just said. Yeah, dude, I agree that people are too stupid to vote, but give them the right to vote anyway.
I don't think people are too stupid to vote.
Why? So they're too stupid to function, but they're smart enough. Oh, come on. You think that people who go and generally cast a ballot are high information voters, or they barely even know what the hell they're talking about?
I mean, do you have a statistic on how many of them are?
Yeah, you could do street polls. A lot of people have no idea what's even going on with the issues. A lot of people are just bused to poll booths. They get bribed to do it. This happens on both sides of the aisle. Like, how many times have you seen canvassing campaigns who go out there and they're canvassing, they knock on doors, that people don't even know what the hell they're talking about?
So what, you think we should do an IQ test for everyone to have the right to vote?
That's been suggested. right? But I have a better plan than an IQ test. I would not disenfranchise a person from being able to vote because they have like an average IQ.
Yeah.
What I would do is disenfranchise a person to vote if they were low information. One way I could find out if they were really politically motivated is if they sacrificed years of their lives to the state in order to get that right to vote.
So you want to punish people for being stupid?
No, I just don't want them to nullify well-informed votes from people who are smart and on the issues and understand the issues.
But taking away someone's vote would be punishing them in a sense.
It's not punishing them.
Yeah, it kind of
It's
is.
actually stopping them from punishing themselves and the rest of society because they're easily exploited by social elites.
That's fair. I mean, but why not then just target education? Like, why not then
We
try to
spend
fund
5% of the entire GDP of the United States on education. It's the highest anywhere in the world, and we have some of the dumbest people on planet Earth. Our literacy rate is barely, you know what the literacy rate is.
Yeah, it's garbage.
It's trash. And
Yeah.
we spend 5%, the biggest GDP on planet Earth. We spend 5% total of our GDP on education. And you think that education's going to solve the problem of the low information
Well, if the
voter?
issue is that people are stupid, help them be smarter.
There's a lot of that is a mixture of genes and environment and nourishment and all sorts of different things. It's like you can't, this whole progressive
Well, if
idea.
it's environment and nourishment,
Hang on.
then why not attack
This
those
whole
things?
stupid progressive idea of like, you just can just educate people into whatever it is. It's like, no, you really can't. Like, there's a lot of people who are just going to be fucking janitors, okay? There's a lot of, okay?
All right.
There's a lot of people who are just going to be fucking janitors and who are just going to be fucking toilet bowl cleaners and who are just going to be fucking bartenders and are really not meant to build fucking rocket ships, okay?
I know, but they're still subject to laws. So they
Yeah, I
still get
know,
a
but
say.
just being
and it's
but
frustrating,
don't
but it's
you-
just a fact.
Yeah,
If I want
yeah.
free will and they want, and you want free will, and we deserve the right to vote, then they do too.
No, you're not eliminating free will by this.
You are,
You're
though.
protecting the rest of society from low information voters destroying their lives.
Yeah,
do you
but
think
you
really
still
think?
can't
Let me ask you
take
this.
someone else's free
Let me
will
ask you
because
this.
they're stupid.
If you were to, yeah, but you're not really doing that. What
You
you're
are.
doing.
A vote is an exercise
No.
in free will.
Let me ask you this: if you had to choose,
Yes.
right, for your family,
Sure.
and you knew that you could move them to a place where there was a bunch of people who were highly informed on political processes in the local community, or you can move them to a place where people didn't give a shit, right? Which place would you prefer them to be?
I would prefer them to be in the higher.
Of course,
Obviously,
right? At
yeah.
the place where the people are the most
Hold on.
informed.
Speaking of which, my mother's calling me. Here, I'm a screener. Sorry, Mom. Love you.
Now, if you were able to, if these people were able to cast votes and nullify all of the votes of you high information voters, right? Wouldn't it actually be better for them and for you to disenfranchise their voting so that you guys could actually vote on political and policy issues that made sense?
Well, I don't think that stupid people are nullifying all of the votes of smart people.
Really? Think
mean,
about what you
all
just
of
said.
them.
Can you
Not
think
all
about
of
what
them.
you just? Do you
Not
think there's
all
more
of them.
stupid people or smart people?
In this country, yeah, it's probably more.
Okay, so you really
Yeah.
don't think stupid people are nullifying the votes of smart people?
On a certain level, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they still deserve free will. I can't.
They
rob
still
someone-
have free will.
They don't, because they're still subject to the laws of this
Voting
country.
is a privilege. If you go to Australia and you commit a crime, can you go to jail in Australia?
Yeah,
But you can't vote in Australia, right?
sure.
So you see how that makes no sense? Like
It
what
does
you're
make
saying
sense,
makes
though.
no
I mean,
sense.
if you travel to another country and endanger people, like that's a threat.
You're not
to
even
public
endangering
safety.
people. If you're just like drunk in public, you can be arrested.
That is a threat to public safety.
No.
Public intoxication is a
Look,
threat to public
that
safety.
doesn't mean you're going to actually do anything wrong, right?
But you could.
yeah.
I mean, drunken people are habitually
or
more
you
violent,
could break
statistically
some,
more violent.
or you could break some public ordinance, right? You could break some public ordinance you didn't know about, like you're on a beach, right?
Yeah.
And you're in your shorts, and it was supposed to be t-shirts and shorts, something like this.
Yeah, but breaking public ordinances doesn't lead to jail time.
It does if you don't pay the fine.
Well, then you should pay the fucking fine.
Well, see what I mean, though? So you are subject to those laws,
Yes.
and you are subject to imprisonment based on those laws.
You
And if
should be-
that's the case, you can't vote in those countries.
Okay, but you're not a citizen of that country. You're still a citizen of this country. If you were a citizen
That's my
of this
whole
country
point,
and you
though.
live here and you are subject to the
Yeah.
laws of this country for your entire life, from
Yeah.
birth to death,
Yeah.
you should have
Why do you
a
want
stake.
why do you want dumb people to disenfranchise your well-informed vote? That makes no sense. Not only that, you say that you're actually emboldening them with their free will, right? It's like, that's so silly, because ultimately, these people who are politically low information, they're so low information, you're allowing them to get taken advantage of.
Of course, I don't want dumb people to disenfranchise my vote, but I don't think that the solution to that is a one marriage voting system, or you have to do public service for 5 years.
Give me an alternative.
But can't dumb people do that too? Like, couldn't a dumb person just do some fucking community service for 5 years and then get paid? I mean, like, there are dumb people in the army.
Listen, I agree with you that there can be some stupid people who get through the system, but they're not going to be probably low information. You're not going to go through 5 years of civil service like that for the purpose of being able to vote and be low information, or you wouldn't do it. You have an interest. That's what the whole point is.
Well, if your housing and your food is paid for, I think there are a lot of people who'd be interested in that. The army. I mean, that's like exactly a
the
version
army.
of civil
You have
service.
to take the army. You have to take an ASVAB test, and you have to score X amount of a score in order to even be placed in those things.
Big dog. My boyfriend's a vet. He talks about some dumb motherfuckers in the army.
Sure, there's dumb people in the army.
But so they would.
But
be
to qualify for certain jobs, you can't be. And for civil service or something like this, you can do intelligence tests or things like that.
You're basically saying there should be an IQ test, and only those who would like to be civil servants who pass that IQ test.
Well, I think
should be allowed
should
to vote.
probably implement an IQ test for the military too, which they do.
Yeah, but people suck.
I mean, but they do. But they
they?
do, unless it's in wartime and they're like, okay, well, you just need a body in here, and then they'll grab anybody off the street. But yeah,
Can we ask about right now? I want to confirm that.
of course.
Aiden, do you do IQ tests for the military?
Yeah, I'm be honest with you, man. I know guys in the army who are like mentally.
Wait, you want boyfriend reveal?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Wait. Oh, go. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just go around that
See,
way.
army. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, there are people who are there who are dumb. That's true, but they.
Here, baby, come here first.
If you can,
Yeah.
just kind of like.
I've heard of that. It's called a
Crouch
Cat
right
5
here.
waiver, right? They give them a Cat 5 waiver.
I'm talking about category 5 waivers. I'm talking about.
Can you just?
Baby, come here.
Shalom.
Mm-hmm.
Not so up.
In terms of like people in the army and IQ tests, like I've taken the ASVAB, it is not a very difficult test, and a lot of people get their ASVABs taken for them. I knew guys in the army who were like medically diagnosable with mental deficiencies,
Mm-hmm.
and were still in the army doing jobs that in theory required a certain level of mental faculty.
Sure. Yeah, the system can get gamed, but those are exceptions, not the rule.
I wouldn't really go that far, to be honest with you. And then also in terms of your,
You don't think the majority of people are stupid or in the army are stupid, do you?
I think that there are a great number of people who join the army because they want a place to live and food, which is the system you just described, and that's pretty much independent of intelligence.
They seem to be joining the army based around patriotism, the
When were
ability
you
to
in the
get
army?
paid, the ability to
When
do
were you
things
in the
like
army
that.
again?
What's that?
When were you in the army?
I was in the army for a very limited amount of time, years and years ago.
How long was that very limited amount of time, if you don't mind me asking?
It wasn't very long, about a year.
About a year. So what happened? 'Cause
Well,
actually-
it doesn't matter what happened.
Oh, but we're talking about service, man.
What about it?
So you want to disenfranchise people based on military service. I actually know why most
Why
people
would?
join the
What are
army.
you talking about? How would I disenfranchise them based on military service?
No, you
it
said
would
you
be the
wanted to
opposite.
disenfranchise
If
those
you're
who
requiring
don't.
people to serve in
No,
the
it wouldn't
military-
require them to serve in the army. Literally didn't say that.
I'm sorry about
All
that.
right,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, I literally didn't say that.
Thank you for your help.
I
Ella.
disagree. But thank you.
Okay.
Readjust this.
So now we've established that people in the army can very much be stupid. So
Nobody ever disputed you can have stupid people in the army.
okay, so again, we're trying to go
My
back.
question-
We're trying to
yeah.
figure out
So
how
let's see
your
if we
system
can't.
would work
Yeah, so
in terms of
Yeah.
those who are participating in some sort of civil service.
Yeah, so you would have
are-
some type of civil service, right? Which
Okay.
a person would participate in for at least 5 years.
5 years.
Yes, unpaid.
5?
Yes, unpaid.
That's ridiculous.
Why? Do you think that the person who participated in it for 5 years unpaid would really want to be politically informed by the end of that? Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that's
the-
5 years of not having. Like that's 5 years of like housing is paid for, food is paid
Service
for.
guarantees citizenship.
So can I ask who's paying for 5 years of millions of people participating in a civil?
Well, chances would be pretty good it wouldn't be millions, or at least not hundreds of millions of people participating in such a system.
So
It'd be
you
a
would
very
like to
low
limit the
demographic.
voting block in this country to less than? There's 430 million people in this country, and you'd like to limit it
Nah,
to less
330
than
million.
hundreds of millions?
It's 330 million in the United States, I think. 336 million or something.
Regardless, you would still like to limit it to. I misspoke. My bad. But you
Yeah.
would still like to limit it to less than. You would like to limit it to hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
You think it's fair for hundreds of thousands of people to speak on behalf of 360 million people?
Do you think it's fair right now to have 100 senators do that?
No, but we still vote for the senators.
Yeah,
we
I
vote
know,
for
but
the senators.
do you really
though.
think you're getting?
They don't just walk up and say, "Hello, sir, I would
Do you
like to
think
be a
you're
senator."
really
Like,
getting
you're voting?
Wait, you think you're really getting political representation inside of a state like New York with 2 people?